What's going on, everyone out there in Badgerland? Welcome to the PPC Den podcast. As always, I am joined here by Steven. What is up, Steven?
Hey, what's going on?
Steven, did you know the U.S. Post Office and U.S. Army and Navy officials, in conjunction with American greeting card companies, threw a Christmas in July lunch in 1944 as an early way to send Christmas cards to servicemen overseas in World War II.
See, there was a Christmas in July in 1944.
There was a Christmas in July way back when, and today, flash forward all the way to 2019, and we are living in Christmas in July all over again, except this time it goes by a different name, Prime Day.
Prime Day, all right.
And today we're going to be talking about some paid traffic strategies as well as some general strategies for what to do going into Prime Day. And this is something that we're taking a different approach than other pieces of content out there. You know, there's so many tips out there for Prime Day. One thing that we wanted to do a little different, what we did, we actually opened up the data vault and we actually grabbed the data from last year for Prime Day, and we can sort of see what happens as July goes on, and then boom, Prime Day happens. We're actually going to talk to you about the data and what you should be doing to prepare for those days. So a data-driven approach to PPC on Prime Day.
That's right. And I think one of the coolest things about running a tool like Ad Badger is that, we've got a ton of users that are filtering their ad spends, their revenue conversion rates, everything through our app. And that's actually where we're able to pull these metrics from to kind of analyze, Prime Day performance and compare it to monthly averages, annual averages. And I think that's something unique. I think it's a different approach. If you Google how to prepare for Prime Day, a lot of people are going to tell you the same thing, optimize your product listings.
That's a combination of optimize and automate.
Optimate.
Yes.
They're going to say, increase your bids, increase your budgets. It's like, that should be a no-brainer,
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to give you, real, live, raw data.
How much should you increase your bids and budget?
Exactly. So that's what this episode's all about.
Cool. So just jumping in on a personal level, Steven, are you excited about any particular product that you're going to be scanning Amazon for to end up purchasing?
I'll probably be looking at tech stuff.
Okay.
I always like making my home a little bit smarter,
Mm-hmm.
so that one day when robots take over the world, I just want to make sure my house is the first to go.
What's the smartest thing you have in your house?
I've got these like light bulbs, and I can tell. Like I'll tell my Alexa, I'll be like, "Hey Alexa, show me the northern lights," and like the aurora light thing.
I would imagine there's probably a Prime Day deal around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. So just a little history on Prime Day. Started in 2015 to sell. And if you think about it, all of these marketplaces that have memberships, you pay a membership to go to Costco. You're paying a membership to have a Prime membership on Amazon. So in a lot of ways, this was sort of a way to get more and more people to either opt in to Prime or even reinforce the fact that they should never leave Prime because they're going to miss out on all these things. So even just us talking about like what we're excited to get on Prime Day, like we're hooked. Like we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. So Prime. So Amazon came out with Amazon Prime in 2005. And that was the first time where they said it was an annual fee you would pay, and you would get free 2-day shipping guaranteed within the U.S. And so sort of as a way to celebrate 10 years of Prime and 20 years of Amazon as a company, in 2015, they had the very first Prime Day, which is basically just a big day of discounts and sales.
Right. Who doesn't like a good sale?
Absolutely.
And it's getting longer. It started, I think it started 24 hours. Then it jumped to 36 hours, 2018. 2019, we've got 48 full hours.
That's right. So by the time this show is being released, it will have been a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
But Amazon released their Prime Day because they kind of keep it a secret up until just a few days beforehand.
Got to get the anticipation.
That's right.
Juices
People don't
flowing.
know where it's going to be or when it's going to be. And this year, they actually said it was going to be a full 48 hours. So in 2018, last year, that was the first time they ever extended it past 24 hours to 36. And this year, for the first time, it's going to be a full 48-hour special, which I think is kind of cool because on the second day, you'll actually have a little bit little data to go off of as your sales start rolling in.
Shoppers will be able to go home and actually shop like in the evening as well.
True. Absolutely.
You know what's wild is like, just as a quick aside, like where does it end? It's like 48 hours now. Is it going to jump to 72?
Oh, it'll be Amazon
a week
Prime
long?
Week. Oh,
yes,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Not a doubt in my mind.
So if you've listened to the show for a while, you'll know that despite how excited we generally get around paid traffic and paid traffic strategies, we're actually kind of boring in our approach to it. So what I mean by that is we're here to sort of build long, sustainable business strategies that we can use throughout the life cycle of the company, of our marketing careers, of our campaigns. So to me, Prime Day has always been less about a flash in the pan type thing, more about just asking, hey, what do you do when you're preparing for days where you have increased clicks, increased conversion rates? What kinds of things should you be doing in your campaigns? And in that way, like being prepared for Prime Day is simply being a good paid traffic marketer. So we're going to be sharing some general strategies, pretty quickly. I'm sure you out there, you have great podcasts that you listen to for general Amazon marketing. This is an Amazon PPC podcast. So Stephen, let's go quickly through some of your non-PPC strategies that definitely people should have. It's sort of like table stakes at this point.
Sure. Yeah. So you can't really, there's some stuff that's not really, PPC per se. So for example, Amazon has these lightning deals on Prime Day, which will basically be these, big in your face ads that are like, this is the deal for the next 24 hours. Click it now. It'll be on the homepage. It'll be probably like in display ads on the sides of search results pages. You don't actually bid on those. It's not pay per click. Those are something that you actually need to have gotten your submissions in already because they close submissions by May 10th. But basically, you add your products that you would want to be on a lightning deal. So, for next year, you can keep this in mind.
Right. Set the reminder for first week of May next year.
Exactly. It used to be free, but now they made it that it's $500 to enter yourself as a seller for lightning deals. And I think that's just to kind of filter out the people who aren't being serious about it. But it's actually pay per unit sold. So you actually have to pick a funding amount. So you would be willing to pay like $2 for every unit sold. And you got to fund it that way. So it's just another way for Amazon to make money off their sellers and vendors.
Right. You also have down here Amazon coupons.
Right. And if you miss lightning deals, you still can use that as a strategy. So you can start setting up coupons so that when people are visiting your product page, they'll see this thing where it's like, check this box, and you'll get a 5%, 10%, 15, 20, whatever you want to do, discount. And it's also just kind of makes your product listing a little bit more engaging, a little more colorful.
Right.
There's a nice little orange banner there.
Right. And to extend paid traffic to outside of Amazon ads, if you have any Facebook cookies or a mailing list or whatever, this is a terrific opportunity to have a specific Prime Day coupon and get that promotions to get sales onto Amazon. So sort of wrangle up your audience that's floating out there.
Right.
And of course, for sure.
Just keep in mind that there is a 2-day delay from the time when you create your coupon to the time that it actually gets displayed. So, don't start advertising your coupon on July 15th. Otherwise, it'll be too late because Prime Day will be over by the time your coupon gets out.
That's right. What about deal of the day?
So deal of the day is something that's only for vendors, and it's something that they can sign up for where, again, Amazon will kind of show it on the front page where I think if your product is going at least 40% off, then they'll display your product as, the deal of the day.
That's right. And finally, making sure that your listings are dialed in to the T, titles, bullets, descriptions, EBC, A+ content, images, those you should have a monthly cadence of optimizing these things anyway. So it's not as if, I've neglected this for the last year. Now it's time to tune this up. These are things that you should be optimizing on a regular basis. So not too much to say there in terms of the data that we're going to get to. We'll sort of link back to why these things are so important to actually get that click as we get into sort of the concept of grazers versus hunters, right? So let's actually jump into the PPC strategies that we've been all aiming for in this episode.
So first up, I want to talk a little bit with you guys just about conversion rates. As you've probably heard us talk about before, the monthly average of conversion rates is around 9.8%. It kind of fluctuates anywhere between 9 to 10% based on like the day of the week. And even when we're looking at July's stats for 2018, it was averaging about a 9.6, 9.8% for the month. And then boom, Prime Day happens on July 16th and conversion rates suddenly jump up to 15.5%.
Right.
It nearly doubles on that day.
So again, foundational learning. How do you prepare an account that's about to experience huge conversion rate jumps, increase in spend, and a dramatic rise in sales. So let's actually get into this metric by metric. Metric number one, CTR. So this is actually pretty interesting, but it's worth knowing just how the behavior changes on Prime days, I guess we have to say. So on Prime Day, CTRs are going to fall in half. For example, the average CTR of the month of July last year was 0.37, and then on Prime Day, it was 0.19. So that's actually almost half of what it normally is. So again, going into Prime Day, and it's especially true on Prime Day, you want to be sure that your account is as tight as possible, meaning you are always sort of I'm trying to say, like, locked, stocked, and full of negative keywords. You should always be sure that your account has as many negative keywords as it should, if not more. So be sure that you're pumping negative keywords on a regular basis, scanning through your search term report, doing proactive negative keyword research, because again, in your search term report, you're only going to see things that have had at least one click, and there are thousands of other things that have not had a click that you need to do proactive negative keyword research to be sure that that's finely tuned. So negative targeting options, negative keywords, you have to tune up your car before the race. This is something that becomes extra true because impressions are going way up, and you want to be sure that you're showing up for the highest probability of things to get the clicks and things to get the sales. The second metric we're going to touch on is budgets. Budgets probably gets the most buzz for Prime Day for good reason. Last year, leading up to Prime Day, there was a 137% bump in spend. So that's almost double the amount of spend happening on any given day, which is an indication that there's more clicks happening. So there's just loads more of everything, right? There's more users on Amazon, there's more searches, there's more viewing of product pages, there's more clicks on things, there's more everything. So there's definitely a 173% bump in budgets to be expected. So in terms of how much you should be increasing your budgets, what would you say here, Stephen?
Yeah, so that 173% bump, one thing that we weren't able to actually collect data on is how many of those people actually hit their budgets and ran out of ad spend, and they weren't closely monitoring it. So if budgets were unlimited, like, could it have ran over 200, 300% of a bump in total ad spend? Mm-hmm. So I would say, just to be on the safe side, you should at least double your budgets for these next 2 days, or not the next 2 days, those 2 days, right? And possibly even go 2.5 to 3 times if you really want to make sure that you're not going to run out of room.
There's this really cool concept I was reading I think the book was like Financial Intelligence for Entrepreneurs, where basically it talks about all of these metrics and numbers. There's always like a hidden story going on behind that. So even though when we look at our data from last year, and we've noticed that during the Prime Day hours, there was a 173% bump in spend, we don't actually know, well, did all of our users go in and double their budgets? Did they triple their budgets? How many people actually hit their budget cap? That's actually really interesting. So I would definitely say 2.5x, maybe 3x your budgets, because you don't want to run out on a day where you're going to experience such strong ACOSs and strong conversion rates.
And one final thing, just on budgets, guys, is like Michael just said just a couple moments ago, the click-through rates actually cut in half from about 0.37% to 0.19. And I think a big reason for that is a lot of people, after they've purchased the product they were looking for, maybe they got it right away, they don't really know what else they're looking for. They just know this is the time to get deals. So I think that's why we see a lot more grazers, a lot more people that they probably don't know what to search for. They're just looking for what cool deal to get next. They're looking for birthday presents. They're looking for ideas. And so that's why we actually saw a lot more sales come through, but not necessarily a lot more clicks come through. And so the reason why that's important, I think we actually saw, we saw sales triple, but spend only increased by 50%. And same with conversions tripled, but clicks only increased by 50%. So people are not quite as quick to click, but they are quick to buy. So it's a very unique time. And that being said, I think you're really safe with really increasing that budget because we don't see clicks, go wild with low conversion rates. It's the other way around.
Because even if you think about the example that we started the show with looking for new home automation things, you didn't say I'm looking for a specific product. So often a lot of the optimization for PPC is centered around, hey, what do I have to do to put my product directly in front of the hunter that knows exactly what they want? And it's like, okay, you optimize for top of search, you do things like that. But what do you do on a day where people are just sort of browsing, they're just walking through the aisles and they're just looking for things. They probably know what category they want, but they're going to be more inclined to sort of, take their time, click around type thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good analogy there, Michael, about walking through the aisle. It's like on Black Friday, when you go to the store, do you actually have something in mind that you're looking for? Maybe, you might be looking for a TV, but a lot of people, they're just walking around and seeing what looks good and they'll buy that.
Right.
And, this is kind of the Cyber Monday, other side of that. But just a quick stat for you guys, because I think we missed it. But actually in 2017, Prime Day exceeded Cyber Monday in sales by 33%. So this is
Prime Day is bigger.
It is the biggest e-commerce event of the year, and especially now it's going to be 2 days. It's going to be crazy. So, Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the bidding strategies?
Right. I mean, because anytime you always want to set your bids to the conversion rates, right, or the revenue per click that you're going to be getting. So the fact that we're going to be getting, twice as strong conversion rates, you want to be sure that you have strong bids to keep up with all of this. So of course, target top of search needs to be strong. Your product pages bids needs to be strong. And of course, your base level bid, which gets inherited to rest of search, needs to be strong too, stronger than usual. In terms of how much stronger, clicks are more valuable. So if you just think of it in terms of a revenue per click, your revenue per click is generally going to be twice as strong during these Prime days. So setting a bid, this might sound extreme. You want to do this strategically, maybe not everywhere in your account, but at least the things that do convert regularly, those things are likely to deserve a 2x bid to keep in line with the 2x conversion rate jump. And if that sounds a little extreme, it's because it is. Like it's an extreme event where you go from an average conversion rate of just under 10% to almost 16%. So that's such a big jump from about 9.5 to 15.5 that you need to be prepared and you need to be ready for it, and you kind of need to look at this data, which is why it's so valuable, and know what would you do if your conversion rate, instead of being an average of 10%, is now 15%. So the best selling keywords, the best selling product targets, the best selling products, you never want to be sure that you're losing impressions and losing ground on such an important day. So what do you think is 2x is saying? Sort of get prepared for a 2x value of the click. So setting those bids at a 2x increase. What are am I too extreme?
No, I think.
Am I going to be taken off the air for being too extreme?
I think you're right to anticipate that, because we have seen it in the past, and because Amazon's only grown, it's only become more competitive. It's only become the number one spot that people go to when shopping. They skip Googling for products; they just go straight to Amazon. Every lead on Amazon is a burning hot lead, especially on Prime Day. Everybody's looking for a deal to buy. So I think you're absolutely right to expect, just anticipate that 2x conversion rate.
And here's, looking at last year, the average cost per click didn't change that much. So the other thing too, the ACoS was almost half of what it was too. So the average ACoS for the month was about 27%. During Prime days, it was 18 and 17% last year. So the risk of, I think you have a bigger risk of missing out on sales than you do, blowing out your ACoS. Prime Day, the numbers support stronger bids.
Right. And hopefully, worst case scenario, if you do overbid, hopefully you end up breaking even on your ACoS, even if you're not profitable. But one thing real quick for you guys, in case if you are using a bidding tool like AdBadger or one of our competitors, I just want to tell you from someone on the inside, someone who works on product development, thinks through with our developers, algorithm issues. We also test out competitors' products to compare ourselves to them and make sure we're winning on every front. But this may be a little taboo for me to say, but
we debated
even if we should say this, but we're going to go ahead and say it. And
we always try to err on the side of being more transparent.
That's what we're all about. And we would recommend, if you're using a bid automation tool, turning it off for just these 2 days. And Michael, why is that?
So every tool out there is using data in sort of the retrospect. It's sort of looking back and it's sort of saying, hey, how am I normally doing over the last 90, 30, 14, 7 days type things, and then using that as an expectation of what to happen next. Every single tool that I know in the Amazon ad space does something like this. So one thing that we're actually going to be doing, and hopefully we can have this ready by like Q4 for like Cyber Monday, is actually putting things into our algorithm, which don't exist yet, but basically to be able to program. So we're getting years of data now at this point. So we kind of know, hey, the conversion rate's going to jump up a certain amount, the performance is going to move a certain way. There's no tool that actually predicts that going into it. So until we're able to create an even smarter tool, I would actually, it does make sense. You can go in there and set your target ACoS twice as high, and that will give you twice as strong bids. But that's probably one of the best stopgaps. So going in and sort of saying, hey, if I increase my target ACoS by 2x, so my normal target ACoS is 30%, I'm going to go in there and set my target ACoS to 60%, then that's going to give you stronger bids, which ultimately kind of does the same thing, which is this sort of concept of, you don't really manage your bid when you're using a bid optimizer, you manage your target. So going in there and setting your target twice as high is probably a good stopgap if you didn't want to do all the manual work.
Right, yeah, so that is a workaround. If you're using a tool that targets an ACoS, you can do that. If you're using a tool that just target, some of them just target like, I think ad spend and budgets and, CPCs. So you can just try to double all of those. But yeah, once again, even then there's Amazon's 24-hour reporting delay. Mm-hmm. And on the day of Prime Day, it's going to be using the previous day's data in informing those decisions. So
very tough.
Yeah. So it's just,
I'm waiting so much for Amazon to have quicker data
live
loops.
Hourly reporting.
Yes.
That'll be the day. That'll be the day that you can fully trust, to run your PPC throughout the whole 2 days.
Google Ads has a reporting delay, but you still get like 90% of your data pretty darn fast within an hour or two.
But it will be really cool. Michael, like you were saying, future versions of our app will actually be able to anticipate seasonality based on historical performance. And there'll be a little switch you can flip on that basically is like, smart predictive bidding, and it just anticipates that and keeps you ahead of the curve based on our data. So
exactly. So let's move on to conversion rates. Prime Day. Obviously, we've mentioned it a bit on the show. It's going to jump pretty darn high. What's the strategy? How do we use this information aside from the bidding like we talked about?
Yeah, so last week we talked about all the different advertising reports that you can download from Amazon. And one of the things that we mentioned last week was that you can only access the last 60 days of data with Amazon. And that's why we highly recommend every month downloading those reports to actually, see your own campaign's performance. Because if you don't have them from last year's, you're a little out of luck. But it would be, if you did just, and I would recommend to everyone listening right now, as soon as Prime Day's done, or a couple of days after and all the data's finished rolling in, download the reports for just those 2 days, save it to your hard drive and say Prime Day 2019 data, get your search term reports, advertise products, all that stuff. So next year.
Right. Because, we have the average of everyone on our platform having a 50% bid increase. I'm sorry, a 50% conversion rate increase.
50% spend increase.
Right.
2 times conversion rate increase.
Whew. Yeah. So we have this data. What we want to be, even better is if you had your own company's data. So maybe your particular company increases 3x that day, or maybe it's just 1.3x. Maybe you don't have a particular product that's particularly hot on Prime Day, things like that. So your specific company's data is always going to be better than the averages out there, but the averages are going to be much better than just guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so next up, we want to talk a little bit just about, actually, how do you strategize? How do you prepare for these upcoming 2 days in July 15 and 16? What can you do? First of all, I hope you guys are really thinking through product selection and thinking through, what are the products you really want to push? Because you can just do use a bulk operations file and just double your bids on everything and double your budgets and be done with it. But if you want to be a lot more strategic, what I would recommend doing is downloading an advertised product report for the last 30 or 60 days And then just sorting it by what are the ASINs that have had the highest sales, what are the ASINs that have had the highest conversion rates, what are the ones that have had the highest traffic, and really make sure that you push those ones hard, possibly even creating a separate campaign that just, basically goes crazy, unlimited budget, because those have been your breadwinners in the past.
Right. It's always conflicting to launch a new campaign specific to this. I know a lot of people do, and I'm actually curious out there for what maybe some of our more experienced listeners have done. Because, you launch a campaign, there's this sort of like ramping up time until it like really gets going. And then that means you're pausing your other campaigns, and there's like this ramping up time that you get when you have to turn it back on. I don't exactly know how I feel about turning things on and off. It's probably fine. But I don't know. I'm curious if there's more information out there. I try not to, only because, if you're an active optimizer, you can just go in and make those changes to that existing campaign. But maybe for people that are not as active as others, going in there a week early, creating that campaign, it's probably better than, missing hours, missing time and things like that.
Yeah. And one of the nice things about, bulk operations, if you're someone who likes those, is you can right now, download your campaigns, make all the optimizations you want to do, and then just wait until midnight of July 15th and then upload them. Or if you want to create a new campaign, you can just set the start date to July 15th.
A lot of roads lead back to bulk files. You
Right.
can just prepare that, have it ready, boom, upload it, ready. And finally, customizing your sponsored brand ads with specific copy for Prime Day can go far on these days.
Yeah, I think if people who are brand registered, I think a lot of folks haven't really tapped into the full potential of sponsored brand ads, especially now while CPCs on those are around like $1, $1.10. Because it's getting 4 times the amount of screen real estate, I anticipate CPCs will eventually quadruple the average sponsored product CPCs. But for now, if you guys really want to, create something fancy and be really flashy and eye-catching for your customers, you can switch your actual brand picture. You can also just throw in the title copy, what are, anything that's like best Prime deal, whatever your copywriters are doing that's creative. And again, going back to those advertised product reports, putting the best ones up there that are in those top 3 spots. And also, as far as it goes with all of your campaigns, make sure you're adding a few Prime Day specific keywords, words like discount, words like deal, all that kind of stuff, especially if you've got loyal customers who are going to be looking for you. You could just say your brand name discount, your brand name Prime Day.
Right. Why wouldn't you type in home automation Prime Day deals or something
exactly.
like that?
Yeah. So just make sure you're kind of doing the extra mile, going the extra mile and anticipating those kinds of searches that people will be coming through.
And that's it. That's Christmas in July as we know it today, Prime Day, a way to basically get out of the summer slump. I think a lot of people do have some kind of summer slump. People are outside a lot more, and this is a way to wrangle them back in on their computers and buying. So let's have a send off with some Christmas music, because Cyber Monday, Black Friday, very similar to Prime Day. And Stephen, what's your favorite Christmas song?
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
That's it. So everyone out there, from Stephen and myself here at the PPC Den, have yourself a merry little Prime Day. Have a good one.
Take care.